This conference will now be recorded.
Once again, good evening and good morning, guys. This is Satish from Isha Training Solutions, and this batch is, as you all know, this is for the K6 performance testing beginner level course. Okay, I believe many of you have joined, uh, might have been already using some way or other load testing tool like LoadRunner or Jmeter, or you might be already into a manual testing or automation testing and trying to get into the performance testing. I believe you most of you are belong to these two criteria, right? Um, very quick introduction about the K6 uh, uh, testing tool. So we all know that from a commercial tool, LoadRunner Performance Center, and the tools like Load, Blazemeter, still been widely used by many of the uh, enterprise all over the geo. LoadRunner still being the top of all these commercial tools. And when it comes to the open source, obviously Jmeter has been on the top three for last easily last decade, right? And even now, it is still the number one open source tool when it comes to performance testing, right? Um, um, at least last an year or two, we could able to see that there is a very good traction for K6, uh, especially when it comes to microservices API-based load testing. Right? Um, More of a developer choice. Developer likes the kind of the K6, the way it works in terms of creating scripts. It is more of creating a code, right? K6 script is more of a JavaScript code. So it is more of a developer-friendly tool adopted early by developers. In fact, it is marketed as a developer-friendly tool, right? And with Grafana acquiring K6, it more and more it became very popular. And when it comes to choice of these tools, right? Most of the time, we go to a project and the project would have already decided, might have already had loader licenses. Some might have new load licenses. Some might have Jmeter license. Jmeter, they prefer Jmeter. So most of the time, it is something that is already decided, and we go and use it. Right? Any testing tool is a testing tool. It doesn't really going to be very difficult. You need to still create a script, um, do a parameterization, correlation, error handling. You execute, create scenarios, analyze. All these things are going to be common. You take any tool, LoadRunner or Jmeter or K6 or NeoLoad, Gatling, any tool, these things are not going to change, right? The tool is different, of course, and the way you're going to do these activities are going to be different. Okay? So, which means when we go to a project, if they already decided certain tool, we'll go and adopt for those tools. Right? So, similarly for K6 as well, when we are in a position to recommend a tool, when a project team is going to ask you, or your customer is going to ask you, then yes, we will have that comparison between a LoadRunner or a Jmeter or usually it is not commercial versus open source, because if the customer is having a budget, if there's a very big project thing, they can even go and afford for LoadRunner, which is still a very popular and still a robust testing tool. But when it comes to just open source, then that is where you need to probably weigh in between K6 and Jmeter. Again, it depends upon project to project, person to person. But the way the K6 promotes their tool is they also accept Jmeter as a definitely a popular tool, very good tool when it comes to community supports, supporting various protocols, right? From a reporting perspective, all these things Jmeter is good. Even K6 accept those things. But when it comes to especially with the capacity of your load generators, right? The way say for 1,000 users, you might need 4 missions if you're going to use Jmeter. But K6 claims that you just need a 1 mission with a similar configuration, right? So the number of user per load generator, K6 says that it can do lot better than Jmeter because of the underlying architecture. Jmeter is written in Java. K6 tool as such, it's written in the Go language. So so because of this underlying architecture, K6 says that it can actually go scale up very easy, and it is going to be cost saving, right? In the place where you need to use 10k, 50k, 100k users, then you're going to save money in terms of load generators. You might go and procure 10 missions for K6, whereas for Jmeter you might need 25 or 30. So that is one of the advantage K6 actually claims, and that is actually true as well, right? There are a lot of analysis done, executions done, and between Jmeter and K6, and it is a proven uh, I would say it is already proved for the microservices, for the STPs. K6 capacity is very high when it compares to Jmeter. Okay. So and the popularity as well. Last 1 year, 2 year, we have seen rapid increase in the use of cases, because everywhere you go, it's all more of microservices architecture, right? So people create more and more small services, microservices. So when it comes to microservices, K6 seems to be very good in terms of creating scripts or executions, load generator everywhere. Okay? So it is definitely good to, if you are looking for another open source tool to learn and use it, K6 is definitely a tool to focus on. Right? And or even if you're going to new to load testing or performance testing, K6 for microservices is a very easy one to pick it up if you're already a part of automation testing or manual testing. It is going to be little easy for you to pick the K6 as well, because of the way scripts are created in K6. Okay, that's a very simple small introduction about K6. There is no clear definition of when to use, when not to use. Most of the time it is driven by your project enterprise team, but when it comes to you to decide which tool you want to use it between Jmeter and K6, if it is a microservices based application, lot of services, lot of APIs, definitely you can go and recommend using the K6. Okay, fine. Anyway, we are not here to say which is good, which is not good, but these are the consideration you can look into it when you're going to opt for different tools. Or if somebody is going to ask you about why K6, why Jmeter, I mean, I will also send you a link which K6 published by themselves on comparing with Jmeter. You can take a look into it whenever you get time. I will publish it after the call today. Okay, fine. So what is it we are going to learn, right? Over the next 2.5 weeks, what is that we are going to learn? Okay, the structure is going to be pretty simple, straightforward for any load testing tool. You need to install the components. You need to do a scripting, whether you want to record it or you're going to create your own scripts for the APIs, parameterization, correlation, error handling, uh, execution, creating scenarios, running it for multiple different way of scenarios, looking into the results, report. All these things are going to be, I mean, part of any testing tool, as I was mentioning earlier, right? That is what we are going to follow it as well. From the course content perspective, we will get into the introduction about the K6 tool, and then we look into the different components that is required for you to install it in your laptop or to get subscribed to in terms of K6 cloud. So we look into various software that is required, and we'll go and look into the installation steps and then get it done. Okay. that is going to be more of a initial setup, right? And then also we'll look into from a scripting perspective, what sample applications we are going to consider, what sample API documentation we are going to look into it. All these things, it's going to be part of the introduction. Because for your scripting, for your execution, you need an application. We cannot go and use Amazon.com, or we cannot use any Flipkart.com, right? You need a live application. So we'll go through how we are going to, which application we are going to use it, and which API documentation we are going to use it. All these things is going to be part of the introduction. Few of these things which I'll cover it anyway in the second of today. And then from there, now once we have the tool installed, once you have all the components ready, then we'll go and go first into the microservices scripting. Right? We'll go and we'll use a Swagger, which is one of the famous API documentation. We'll look into the Swagger as a requirement. We'll pick those APIs. I'll run through those as well today, later, right? How that Swagger documentation is going to look into it. So looking into those requirements, how are we going to convert that into a scripting? And then for the microservices scripting, how do you going to make use of the GUI that is available in the K6 cloud for creating the scripts, and how are you going to take that cloud script into your local script? How are you going to convert that, and how are you going to enhance it from a parameterization perspective? And then within parameterization, there are a couple of ways to provide the input files like CSV, like a JSON, giving a unique values, giving a random values. All these things are required from a scripting perspective. Right? We'll go and learn all these aspects from a parameterization perspective. Similarly for correlation, and then error handling. All these things will be looking into the from a microservices aspect of the K6. Okay. Obviously, from tool to tool, certain things vary. You might call as your error handling or screen validation in other tools. Here we call it as a checks, and so the terminology might be a little bit varying, but the concept is same. So we'll go through all these terminologies as well. What do you mean by checks? What do you mean by thresholds? So all these things we'll learn one by one as we go along. Okay. So from the microservices, then we will move on to the for the UI based applications. Obviously, you need to go and record it. So we'll look into what is a plugin available for the recording, and then we'll go and record it, and then we'll go and do the enhancement similar to the microservices like parameterization, correlation. Correlation might vary because in microservices you're going to look into the JSON response, right? Whereas in the UI it is going to be an HTML response. So correlation, the way you correlate will be a little different when compared to UI and microservices, and the error handling. So all these things will be looking into it from the UI as well. Right? While we do this scripting, we would need a lot of pre-built utilities, functions, right? To pick a random data, to pick a random item from the response. You're doing some manipulation on the strings, right? So you might need a lot of utilities and functions. So all these things as well, we will look into it as and when required during the script enhancement phase. And from an execution perspective, you can do execution in cloud. K6 provides its own cloud, and you can also execute it since it's open source, right? You can also do it on your own in your mission. So we'll look into both options. What are the various scenarios, right? Ramp up, ramp down scenarios, or if you want to do a step up scenarios, or if you want to run a fixed number of iterations. There are multiple goals for your scenario. So we look into all the different options available in the execution. And then we'll also, from a reporting perspective, from the analysis perspective, from a monitoring perspective, how are we going? Since the K6 is an open source, it doesn't have a default UI to monitor the your tests. So we'll see how to integrate your K6 to InfluxDB and Grafana. Right? So all these options from analysis, from a reporting, we will look into it as we go along with the execution phase. And so as I said, we will do execution both in the K6 cloud as well as in the our own missions. Right? How the analysis is going to be different, how the reporting is going to be different from local versus cloud. All these things we will look into it. And one more aspect of your performance is you all would have known about the end user experience, right? Your client side performance. So we'll also look into a couple of important metrics from a client side performance, how to measure it in the developer tool, concept about client side performance. And then in K6, there is you can build your own K6 actually. K6 is open source, right? They have some add-ons through which you can rebuild your K6 to get this end user experience as well. Okay, end user experience is not available default in K6. You have to rebuild your K6. We'll try to learn how to rebuild the K6 with the end user experience plugin, and then include those end user experience libraries or functions, and then see how to get those metrics. Okay, so that is how the entire course has been structured, right from the start to the end, and it will probably go for 11, 12, 13 days, 2.5 weeks, they approximate. It can be plus or minus a couple of days. Okay, time is going to be between the same. Today, whatever time we have met, it is going to be between 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Okay, Monday to Friday. Mostly it is Monday to Friday. Maybe one of the Saturday we might have it if required. Right. As I was mentioning, right, how we are going to learn? We are going to learn not with the Amazon.com or Flipkart.com, where you will not have full control over doing many things, right? So we'll use couple of publicly available test applications, and also the API documentation. Okay, so when it comes to microservices, as I was mentioning, you will get a requirement from your developer in a this there's something called Swagger, right? So when a when a developer is going to create all these APIs microservices, you will also get this documentation automatically built by your developer. Okay, so this will have all the documentation on what are the various get calls, post calls, what are the definition of that, the response format, request format, right? All these things you're going to have it here, and you can also go and execute it and then see how it works, right? So it's a API documentation which will help you to understand what is your requirement in terms of number of get calls, post calls, put calls, and then the sample request and response. We get all these things from the developer, right? We ask developer to provide the list of APIs, give me the sample request, sample response. With that, you'll go and construct it your script. So you'll use this pet store documentation online, and we'll try to go through a couple of services for our microservices based scripting and execution. For the your UI based application, for UI based scripting, we will use something called the e-commerce.test.k6.io. So this is a sample e-commerce application similar to your Amazon, where you can go and look into the product and then add it to a cart, and then make a payment, and then do a checkout, right? Yeah, if you go to this, and then you can scroll down, you can do an add to cart, and then you can go to the cart, and then you can do a checkout, right? So we'll go through a few flows from this page for our it'll give you the order ID. You need to fill all this detail anyway. Once you fill all this detail, you can go and place the order. Okay, so we'll use this one for our scripting. There is also one more application which let me quickly check from my scripts. There's one more. Yeah, this is online boutique. So there's one more, online boutique.dev. This also we will use it. Right? Online boutique.dev. These are the two sample applications which you will be using it for our scripting. Okay, and then as I said, for the microservices, we'll be using this the store documentation. Okay, so that you will get a real feeling of how a microservices scripting will be done. You can Swagger documentation, and for the UI based application, we'll be using these apps for your recording. Okay, and from a software perspective, all you need is you need K6, of course. You can download all these softwares are available. Either you can download it from the internet, or let me give a walkthrough on the Google Drive as well. Okay, so this Google Drive, you will get an access to this Google Drive. Once you register it, right, you'll get access to this K6 Drive, where you will find there'll be two things. One is softwares, another is a script. Okay, so you go to the softwares, you will get all that software which is required for you to install. You can directly download this from this drive and you can install it. Of course, you can also go and find Grafana from the internet. You can get the K6 from the internet. You can get the InfluxDB from the internet. All these things you can get it from the internet as well. Or simply you can download it from here. I have everything downloaded and uploaded to this drive as well. Right. So all you need is you need a K6. That is your K6 testing tool software, and you need visual code. Okay, so visual code is the IDE. So K6 doesn't have something called Vuegen, or it doesn't have a GUI like Jmeter, right? So you would be using the Microsoft IDE visual code for creating a script or enhancing the script. Okay, so this as well you can download from the drive or from the internet and you can install it. Okay, and then you would need a subscription to your K6 cloud. Okay, if you go to app.k6.io, right, you can go and register it with your Gmail, Hotmail, whatever it is, right? You can register it with your Gmail or any other email ID. You will get your own cloud account. Okay, the cloud account is free for doing for certain activity, and if you wanted to do a full-fledged execution using the K6 cloud missions, then you might need to purchase some licenses. Okay, so K6 is open source, and you can create scripts, you can execute it on your local. Everything's all fine. In case if you wanted to use the load generators of K6, then obviously you are getting the not only software, the missions also. For that you need to pay it. That is where the pricing will come into picture. Okay, other than that, you would need for your learning, you register here, and then I'll tell why we need this cloud, K6 cloud, as we move on. Okay, so from a setup perspective, you download all the software, install it. Installation is for K6 is very straightforward. You download, it just keep going to next. It will get installed. Similarly, Visual Code also is very simple, straightforward, and you need InfluxDB not at the beginning, but InfluxDB and Grafana is required for your execution and report analysis or reporting for monitoring, right? So that as well, it's very simple, straightforward steps. I'll show you when we go to InfluxDB and Grafana part while doing execution. I'll tell you how to install it. For now, you don't need. Initially, you just need K6. You need Visual Code Studio, and then you need the online subscription for your app.k6.io. These are the three things which you would need at the beginning for you to follow the course and then practice it during your offline, during your weekends or during your availability or during your daytime. You can go and practice it. For that, you need only three things: K6, Visual Code Studio, or the VS Code, and the subscription to the app.k6, which is going to be very straightforward. 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes maximum, you can set up all these three things. Okay. So yeah, those are the bare minimum prerequisite that is required for you to get started. Okay. So what I will do is I'll quickly go and show you how these things are going to be done. Right? Very simple demo of the workflow. Okay, because I was talking about the VS Code, I'm talking about the app.k6, how these and checks are going to happen. I'm just going to give you a very small, simple demo for you to understand why these softwares are required. Okay, so let me take an example API. Okay, assuming that your development team has given you this documentation. Okay, so you launch this URL in your browser, and you just go to any service. Okay, let's go and say I'm going to add a new pet. It's a pet store. I'll go and add a new pet. Okay, so here it says that this is the uh, request body, and /pet is your URL, and it says that you can also try it out. So before even you go and create a script, you can try it out here. Okay, so this is your response body. You can go and edit. So you can say the ID is 121, and you can say the name as my dog pet, whatever it is, right? Just the inputs, and then you come here, you say execute. Okay, it executed and it gives a response. 200 is the response code. This is the request which you have sent, and then request URL. This is the request URL, and the response code are 200, and then this is the response body. Okay, saying that this has been inserted. So now you have the a post API, and you also executed that from your directly from the Swagger. So you know, now you know what is the request URL. You also know the request body, right? So which means you are now have a required details for you to create a script. So now what I will do is I'll go to the app.k6.io. It has a scripting builder. You can go and build your script from this K6 cloud. That is the significant of using the your K6 in the cloud. Okay, so you don't need to go and write the code. K6 when you create a K6 script, right? It is a JavaScript. Okay, like in LoadRunner, you create a C-based scripting, right? It's a and in Jmeter, it is kind of on Java. So similarly, K6, the scripting language is JavaScript. Okay, so now I can go and create a new project. Okay, I can go and create a new project. Project name could be K6 Training July batch. Okay, and in that, right, I can go and create a new test. Okay, in the new test, it has two options where you can go and build your test, or you can go and write your own code. Okay, let's go to the first option, was start building it. Okay, so here it says you can import an R file or record a scenario, or you can add the request manually. Okay, so since it's a microservices, we'll go and add the request one by one. Okay, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to whatever the Swagger I tried is a post call, right? It's creating a new pet. So what I'll do is I'll say that the name is create new pet is my request name, and here it's a post call. It's a post call, right? Because here, if you see here, it's a post call. Right? So I do a post, and then I need to give a URL here. So the URL is going to be, this is the URL. I give it the URL here. Okay, and then from a header perspective, if you go here, if you see here, there are two headers: -h, accept application JSON, content type application JSON. So come here, go to header name, accept, pick accept, and then the drop down application JSON and add a new header here, content type again application JSON. Right? So we have added two headers that is there in the sample requests which we tried in the documentation. Then copy this request body. Okay. Copy the entire request body. Okay, and then go to the body. Okay, go to the body and then say it is a JSON, and then yeah, okay, name string. So I think it is entire thing is copied. Yeah, okay. So now you have added the URL, you have given the address, and then also the response body. Okay. I will not go in detail about these other things. Maybe this check alone, check is nothing but a validation. Okay, I'll explain it in detail as when we start this in detail from tomorrow. But check is more of a validation. You can also go and say, I need a status code check. Okay, bare minimum what we will check is whether my when I send a request, response should be 200 okay. That's a important validation, right? I should not get 400 or 500. So I'll just add a very bare minimum HTTP code validation. Okay, so now I've added header, I've added the body and the checks. Now this is a builder. I'm building a my API script. Right? Once you build it for a request, right? Then if you go to the script, there's a toggle button. If you go to the script, if you see here, automatically it has created a script for you. You don't need to go and write any code. If you see here, it is importing something. Don't worry about all this import and all. I'll explain you everything from tomorrow. It is giving you a script. It is giving you some import. It is giving some load distribution. It is giving the scenario, the number of users, and if you come down, the post call whatever you're written, right? It is the code is created already. The headers and the status code equal to 200. Whatever you're given it as a in the builder, right? In the builder, you just given the input, right? Whatever you saw it in the Swagger documentation, you converted that into an input here, and you are not going to write any code. The code has been generated here, right? If you want to make small changes, for example, if you go to load, right? Sorry, so if you go to the options, and there are several, I will talk about all these different executors and all. Okay, don't worry about it. You will have multiple options for a scenario, right? You can go and change this to probably constant views, for a scripting, right? For a scripting, for executing locally, for script validation, right? We just go and do it with only one user, kind of a thing, right? Or probably per view iteration, I'll say one user, one iteration, right? And maximum of 1 minute. That's how we do it for a script validation, right? When I create a script, I'll just run it for one user, one iteration. So that is what I need to do it from a script development perspective. From execution, I might have various requirements, right? So these changes you can do it here, and if you go to script, it will reflect here. If you see here, now it will have only one user, one iteration, maximum duration 1 minute, right? So you just do configuration in the builder, all the script for you will get generated. Now what you will do is, if you want to further enhance it, or probably if you wanted to run it in the local, the way the workflow would be, you build your script here. So I can go and add multiple requests. Now I can go and say I can add another request. Okay, I can add a sleep time, probably I'll put the sleep here. Okay, I'll create a group. Group name is pet. Okay, and so I can go and right, and I can add these into this. So I can do all this drag and drop here. I can do say get pet, and then I can add another URL. If I go here, right, there will be another get pet, right? Get by pet ID. Okay, so say if I go and try it out, let me search for 121. That is what we added, right? 121. So 121 execute. I'll get a response. So what I can do is I'll just go and copy this, and then I can build another. So now if you go to the script, you will see that two APIs are available. One is your pet post call. Another one is going to be your get call. Okay, and then so I can keep on adding multiple such requests in the builder, and I'll get the script. Now just copy this script, entire script. Okay, copy the script, and then you will go to the visual code. Okay, that is a workflow. I'm just giving a demo, right? We'll go in detail about everything from tomorrow. Workflow is you refer your documentation, you build your script, generate the script, copy it, and come to your visual code, and then you can go and add a new file. Okay, you can say it as a pet store underscore first script .js. Okay, and then save it. Okay, just copy this and then save it. Okay, so and from here you will do multiple enhancements, multiple um, uh, parameterization, correlation, all these things we'll do it here, right? We have to pass the CSV file, we have to correlate something, all these things we'll be doing it here. Okay, so from you build a script there, copy it here, and then once the case is installed in your machine, right, you can also execute it from your local. Okay, so for example, let me go to this D folder, K6 followed by run and your script, right? That is what you will give it for executing a script. K6 run, and then you will run it. Okay, so if your K6 is installed properly, this command to run your K6 is K6 run followed by your script name. Okay, that is the command line for executing your K6 script. K6 run and your script.js. All your, since I said that your K6 is written in JavaScript. Everything, all these things are JavaScript, right? And so it will be saved as .jx. Okay, in your LoadRunner it will be .c, and then here it will Jmeter is just .jmx. Similarly, in K6 it is .js. Okay, so the workflow is you do something there in your K6 cloud, you build it, you convert that into a script, copy it here, and then we'll go do all these parameterization, error handling, correlation, everything here, and then we will run it in the local. That's how the flow is going to be. Okay, so yeah, each and everything will go in detail anyway from tomorrow. This is just for you to understand how this flow is work. Okay, I'll pass it here, guys. If you have any questions on the topics or in general, any questions on the softwares, yeah, feel free to put it in the chat, or you can also probably unmute and ask the questions.
Hello. Hi, Satish.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. So, every time we are going to write a script, right? The process will be we have to first create the script in that KIO6, and after that only we have to copy it into our VS Studio. Is this always the process?
Not always the process. When you start your project for initial scripting, right, you can use that way. But once you're comfortable with the k6 scripting, then you might have already created 2 or 3 scripts for your application. Then what you will do, you will just copy the same script, and then you know how the our get call is going to be. So next time for any post call, I will come here. I will probably change my the transaction name, and then probably I'll probably change these things in what is the post body, and then I can just reuse the same script every time, right? So for our convenience, we can use the builder and then copy it, but not for every time. It is not required for, see, simple get calls are always going to be like this only, right? Get.here, and you might have the code for parameterization. You will have a code for correlation. For example, if we go to this one of the UI script, okay, if you see here, I have my thresholds, I have my import, I have my scenario, I have the checks, I have some correlations, right? I have some random item functions, and then again checks. So this is going to be a template, right? So once you have these things, you're just going to copy paste the checks, copy paste the error handling, copy paste the import. So it is not necessary always to use that builder. You can do it here itself as you get comfortable with the your application. You might already have 5 6 reference scripts. You can just copy it and reuse it. So it is going to be a combination of this.
Okay, okay, fine. Just one more question. Uh, I don't have any background knowledge of JavaScript. How difficult or easy it will be for me to pick up K6?
Okay, yeah, which tool you have worked on earlier?
Jmeter, even LoadRunner.
Jmeter. Okay, okay. See, in LoadRunner, it is a C language, right?
Correct.
And it is mostly you record it. But if you look into it, a lot of your see, when it comes to correlation or your string handling, you might write a lot of functions there also, right? But we never, none of us are C experts, right? But we still go and write those string concatenations or some of these file handling, file writing. We write in the C code. So we're not going to write a complete program, right? It is more of a, for our need, we would need a certain functions. So that is how we use
Okay,
a C functions. Similarly, in here as well, it is all going to be templates. It's all going to be a fixed number of functions, libraries. We always want to reuse it, right? So if you don't know JavaScript, it's not that going to be difficult, but you're going to evolve as you start using k6 more and more.
mhm.
You will need some JavaScript for writing a file. You would need a JavaScript for probably randomly picking something from your response. So as you look for a need, you will look for the solution and you will get it. So JavaScript is not a mandatory one. As you move along, you will learn by looking into the templates, scripts already available. If somebody knows JavaScript, yes, it is going to help. But if you don't know JavaScript, that is not going to stop you in using the K6 tool. You will have some challenges, but there are going to be a lot of references, sample script that is going to be available through which you'll be able to manage it. So it is not going to be a really uh, uh, blocker or a showstopper. Only if I know JavaScript, I have to use K6. No, that is not the case.
Okay, okay, Satish. Thank you.
Yeah, there's one question in the chat. Installation with Linux machine and Mac OS. Yes. definitely. See, for scripting, so Linux machine, we will use it for execution, absolutely. So K6 run JavaScript, that's a command, you will use it in the Linux as well. You can install the K6 in Linux, and then you can execute the script there from a load generation perspective. For a scripting, definitely you need a Windows, right? You need Visual Studio Code. You have to have a Windows machine for doing a scripting, or a Mac OS. In Mac OS also, I think you can definitely. K6 is, I don't think it. I haven't tried out in Mac OS, but it should work. Okay. I can confirm you by looking into the documentation, but definitely it should work. Okay. Integration with the Dynatrace. Integration with Dynatrace. If you're talking about the pure paths, right, in Jmeter or LoadRunner, you can add this header so that you will be able to track it in the your in your Dynatrace. That option, I don't think it is there. Those things are built by Dynatrace themselves, right? Since Jmeter and LoadRunner are a very popular tool, they have created those add-ons uh, uh, to track those requests from these headers. But for K6 also, I think it is possible to work if you already have a Dynatrace license. Definitely, the K6 being an open source, Dynatrace team can help out definitely to build those pure path, not build those pure path, build those plugin to support the pure path. So out of box, I don't think it is there, but in your project, in your enterprise, if you already have a Dynatrace and if you decide to use K6, definitely you can ask the Dynatrace team, and they will help you out to support the K6 for a pure path as well. So, but I think out of box it is not there. I can check it, but whatever I know, it is not there. Okay. So, any questions about your?
Yeah.
Uh,
Hello. Hi, Dipesh.
yeah, go ahead, go
Hello.
ahead, go ahead, please. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So yes, yes. So basically, can you show me that link? I think web link where you created the script. So is it like available to all? Because when I installed in my office, I didn't see this. Yeah, this platform where you were creating script by dragging and dropping things.
This will be available. See, if you subscribe to app.k6, and when you create a new test, right, and if you go for a start building, you will get this option. You're saying this option is not there for you?
Yes, yes. I mean, what I have asked, like my CC, I mean, IT team to download it. So they download it, but I don't know if how can we access this part where we are just, creating a script via dragging and dropping.
No, see, this is not an. See, when you install it, when you install K6, you get a K6 folder, and
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have a GUI. Okay, you have to create a script in Visual Code, and you will use K6 for only execution. Okay, runtime, it's a runtime environment. But for this, you need to go to app.k6.io. Okay, it's a
Okay.
the K6 website, and then you go and
Oh.
create a subscription, and then you go into this new project and new test, and then you create a builder. Okay, with local installation, you will not get this URL. You won't get a, like a performance center and all. You won't get a, for every installation you won't get an URL. No, that is separate. This is separate. So from your organization, from your local mission, you should access exactly this app.k6.io, then create a subscription. There you will get it. Not you. There is no web URL or web GUI for the local installation. No,
Oh,
those are two
So,
different parts. One is local installation.
so,
Once you installed it, you will be able to run your K6 script in your local. K6 don't have
mm-hmm.
an UI. It doesn't have any GUI at all. For
Okay.
GUI only, you need to go to app.case.io and then create your own subscription, and then you can start creating the test from here the way I showed it to you.
So maybe not sure if that is even allowed because we have to upload
It
our
will be
code there,
allowed.
which is against, right? So
No, see
so
what you should
maybe
do is, yeah, see, you should probably work it out with your security teams. So since they are okay with using K6, right? K6 is open source tool. They have accepted to use a K6 open source tool. So which means you can probably get in touch with them and then explain the scenario. Hopefully they should accept it. If they don't accept, then most of the places we have seen providing this justification. See, you're not going to pass any um, data or privacy things, right? You're just going to build it. You don't need to even save it. Actually, you can actually create it and even delete it. So I don't think any sensitive data is going to get transferred. But yes, you need to probably provide the justification to your
Yeah.
team and then get it done.
Okay, so this actually K6 file .js file looks like to be like opening JMX in Notepad. So where for everything there is a tag and sections and all, right? I mean the format is different how JMX shows, but it is like that only, right? It is having its own sections, headers. So how if let's say I'm not getting this K6.io access, so how do I get to know that how to handle this CSV part? What to write,
Yeah, see,
to handle this
any
CSV part?
performance we have a section to provide. No,
Sorry,
yeah,
I'm
those things we'll be looking into it as we move along, definitely. So when we come to
okay. Okay.
parameterization, yeah, we'll look into those parameterization, correlation, error handling, all these things as we move along from tomorrow.
So basically, if we don't have access to this app.k6.io, then we have to actually write everything by our own and then understand,
Yeah.
what will be the code, what,
True.
how to write the CSV part, right?
CSV part anyway, you have to do it on your own only. I'll show you how to do it. It is not with app.k6. CSV part and all, you need to write that code in your visual code only. The
Mm-hmm.
app.k6 will not. Okay. Those things I'll tell you how to do it in the visual code directly.
Okay, so we have to download Visual Studio, is it?
VS Code, yeah, Visual Studio Code, yes.
Oh, okay, okay. So for
That's an IDE,
K6 Visual Studio.
Like Eclipse. Like Eclipse,
Mm-hmm.
Visual Studio Code, you need to install so that you can see any IDE. I think Eclipse also you can use it, but default I think supported is VS Code. You have few add-ons to be installed in VS Code so that all these colors and all, right, to recognize it as a K6 JavaScript. There's a plugin available. I'll show you tomorrow. An extension. Yeah, this is a K6 for Visual Studio is there. You need to go and search for K6. It will list down a couple of extension. Once you install the extension, right, it will recognize it as a script, and then it will highlight it as an import. This is the blue color button, and then a few things with the this all these differentiators, right? The group name, your check code. So those what do you call keywords, those keywords will be highlighted automatically. For that you need to go to this extension and then type in K6, then you need to install these three things. So with VS Code you have this extension available for K6, so that is why we recommend VS Code and not Eclipse.
Okay, so in Eclipse, like we create one project. So there are so many components that get added, while creation, like library files, dot this file, demo file, and also that will be same in Visual Studio also, is it? Like
VS
it's
Code, see, if in the VS Code, you just go and create a new file. Okay, you're not going to create a project here. It's not a web application
okay.
project, right? In Eclipse, you're going to create a new Java project. Then all your
Yeah,
libraries and HTML things will
yes,
get
yes.
added to a project. And here, no,
Mm-hmm.
it is not a project we are
It is
creating. We are
visual.
just creating a file here.
Okay.
Yeah, K6 script. So just a plain vanilla script is what we're creating here.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much.
Satish, one thing, like when you say we need to create a subscription in K6.io, does it mean like we need to sign up?
Just a sign up. There's no cost. You just
Okay,
need to do a sign up. Just give a Gmail
okay,
ID, do registration. That's it.
okay, fine. Got it.
Yeah. There is another question which I don't have an answer. In our the organization K6 framework, they are using TypeScript.ts. But Here we are using JavaScript. Can I convert JavaScript into a TypeScript? I know that it is possible because even all your Angular earlier it was JavaScript, then it is TypeScript. So it is possible to convert a JavaScript to TypeScript. But when you say your organization case framework, they are using TypeScript. So in your organization, they create these scripts in TypeScript. Is it? Is it what you are referring to?
Yeah, yes. Yes, Sadish. Yeah.
Already your development team or your performance team, they create scripts in TypeScript. Is it?
Yeah, correct. So we have a performance testing team. Okay, so they are using TypeScript. So yeah, but I'm new to this K6, and I don't have much knowledge on this TypeScript also. So whether if I learn this yeah, K6 using the JavaScript, then how it will be useful that I can run the whatever the scripts will be developing, right? So how can I use in the TypeScript there?
I'll check and let you know. I haven't tried out TypeScript at all, but what you're asking is if you're going to learn this everything in a Java. See, wherever I have seen many projects everywhere, we use a JavaScript. Even if you see app.k6, by default they generate only the JavaScript code. Okay, so majority of the time we are going to use this only. But since you're saying in your project they are using TypeScript, I'll check and confirm you how different it is going to be. Or is it a way we can, once you convert once you create a JavaScript, is it a way you can convert that into a TypeScript? Let me check
Yeah,
and confirm you.
sure, sure. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But for others, majority, I mean, at least I haven't seen anywhere TypeScript is used for K6 scripting. It is going to be JavaScript only. But for this particular case alone, I'll check and let him know. Okay, so others you don't need to probably worry or get confused with the TypeScript or JavaScript. Default is JavaScript only.
Satish, like one question I had, like for K6, if I'll compare with Jmeter, because currently I'm working in Jmeter, so it is looking little complicated and more coding perspective side than the Jmeter, because in Jmeter we have different GUI also, so there we can just do it. So, like, what all the advantages are there in K6 apart from we can test for a high concurrency like 1,000 or something? Uh, is there any other advantage for K6 over the
Yeah,
JMeter?
yeah. See, again, there is nobody is actually recommending to move away from JMeter to K6, right? JMeter is good, as you said, for many of the reasons. Apart from the load generator capacity, JMeter is going to win when you're going to compare between JMeter versus K6. For when you come to microservices, scripting, since it's a new thing you are looking into, maybe it is looking little complex for cases, but it is not. For microservices, the scripting is not complex at all. It is going to be easy only. Okay. See, probably when you would have moved from LoadRunner to JMeter, LoadRunner would have looked very easy, very less complex. But the JMeter may be a little different. That's why every new tool it will be looking different only. But the actual, if you want to do a comparison from a microservices perspective, once you learn K6, I don't see there is a big difference between JMeter and K6. From a capacity perspective, definitely K6 is going to be a lot better. But in general, for UI-based scripting or other protocols and all, yeah, JMeter is going to be definitely better than K6. Okay, then why should we learn K6? K6 is another open source tool which is picking up in the market, which means when you say already know JMeter, when you're going to say you also know K6, that's going to add weightage to your resume. Second is, in a project where developers are already started using K6, they will not want another testing tool, right? So you will be forced to use a K6 or microservices at least. So those are the driver for using the K6 and learning a K6. There is, if you're going to compare JMeter and K6, you're not going to win the argument at all. by just from a tool to tool comparison.
Okay, so I have one more question. Like, if you're saying that the K6 can handle actually high concurrency, so like the system capacity will be same, right? If I'm running an LG1, okay, in any machine, if I'm running some test case, okay, so it will be same actually, right? It won't like your computers, I mean your machine's capacity won't change. So if it is supporting 100 concurrency, then with K6 also it will support 100 only, right?
No. That is
No?
where, see, considering there's a 8 gig RAM, okay, and 2 CPU, okay, you're running 100 users, okay. 100 users for Jmeter will probably say that it might consume uh, 3 GB of or 4 GB of heap, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So since your machine is 8 gig RAM, you can probably go up to 150 users, right, of 6 GB of heap. But in case 6, it is not the case. For 100 user, it might just consume 1 GB. Okay, which means you can go easily up to 500 or 600 per mission. So for every user, consumption of RAM is very less when you compare that with your Jmeter. And also the way the threads or your OS threads are going to be used, right? In K6, the underlying Go language, it efficiently uses the processor and the threads, whereas in Jmeter it does not. So in terms of CPU consumption, in terms of memory consumption, K6 is going to be very good, optimal. That is where you say that for a 8 gig RAM 2 CPU, for the same application, if you're going to use K6, you can run up to 1000 users, whereas in Jmeter, it is probably 300 or 400.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, fine, guys. We'll stop it here. If you have any questions with respect to the course content or course, you can put a message in the WhatsApp group. I can answer it offline, or you can probably bring that question in the tomorrow at the starting as well. Any questions regarding the registration? Please reach out to the Kumar sir. He is here in the WhatsApp, one of the admin. You can also reach out to the admins in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so we'll meet tomorrow the same time. We'll get started with the sessions day 1. Okay, yeah, thank you very much for your time, guys, today. If you still have any questions, put it in the chat. I'll answer it, or ask the question first thing in the morning tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you so much,
yeah,
Satish. Thank you.
yeah, thanks
Thank
for your
you.
time. Bye bye.
Bye.